In Greek, the work I do, somatic practice to help us reconnect with the wholeness of our body, is about finding the space, regaining the skills and the capacity in our nervous system to stay in dysregulation so we can learn from it.
This is the Made for Living Well podcast, hosted by Alexa Sherm, the place to create a life well lived.
Welcome back to the podcast. As always, my name's Alexa, and this is the place where I believe you were made for living well. Like, you don't have to chase it, you just have to learn how to live it out. It's an action more than a destination. And that's what I teach inside every single podcast episode, which I'm so grateful that you've stuck around, or if you're new here, welcome to the show. As always, you can learn more about the show and where to find all the resources and more information that can give you those practical steps to put into action over at thelivingwell.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for the Weekly Fill, the ultimate newsletter that's working to make you both happy and healthy. Yes, the two go together. They have to. So if you want to learn more, again, you can find all of that at thelivingwell.com. Now, today on the show, we are talking about nervous system regulation. This is a really big topic, especially when it comes to your overall health, because it's your nervous system that's creating your sense of safety or the action that your body takes. Now, today I've invited Maria Victoria Albina on the show, who's a trained family nurse practitioner, breathwork meditation guide, and is a master certified somatic life coach. She has a passion for helping humans socialize and really become their own best healers by reconnecting with their bodies and minds so they can break free of codependency, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and reclaim their joy. Maria Victoria holds a degree in public health from Boston University School of Public Health and a bachelor's of arts in Latin American studies. She has been working in the health and wellness space for over 20 years. You can learn more about Victoria at victoriaalbina.com. Again, I will make sure and link all of this up in the show notes so you can find everything from today's show. Now, before we get into the interview, I do want to tell you the 2024 Nourish Planner has officially launched. It is out in the world, it's ready to ship, and I am so excited for this year's planner. Now, last year, the theme of the planner was those how-tos, changing the story and helping you to understand how to live healthy, how to be more confident, how to become happier, how to stop living so stressed, and so many more how-tos. It was one of the fan favorite topics ever inside the Nourish Planner, so we stuck with the same thing of how-tos and included all of your other favorites to create a healthier life, plan and track your wellness goals, and break up with schedule shaming so you can live a healthier and happier life. Make sure you check out the Nourish Planner over at thelivingwell.com and snag yours before the new year begins. And for now, let's get right to today's show. Welcome to the show, Maria Victoria. I'm honored that you're on, and we're going to talk about a lot of really big subjects today.
I'm really excited.
Yeah. So one of the big ideas or thoughts that I want to talk about today is the connection between gut health and mindset health, because the gut is a really big topic, but I think we really do miss the boat on understanding gut health and the scope of how it interacts and relates to more than just your GI tract. It's really a connection into your nervous system. So can we just dive in like right away and just go right for it? Can you explain gut health and its connection to nervous system health? Like really start to put this big picture together that your gut is more than just part of your digestion.
So we need to back this boat way up and define some terms, right?
Help me back.
I think what you're trying to talk about is the enteric nervous system.
Yeah.
Okay. So the autonomic or automatic nervous system controls most of the functions in the human animal. Well, I was going to get into vertebrates and invertebrates, but I'm going to leave that aside because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll stick to humans for now. So Our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, is made up of two main branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And this system monitors the inside of us, interoception, the outside of us, the world outside of us, exteroception, our balance, proprioception. It's septing from the Latin to know a lot of things, meaning the ANS, autonomic nervous system, is constantly scanning inside of us and outside of us with a number one only goal being our safety and survival. And so our bodies, like as mammalian bodies, have they're pretty dedicated to our survival. And so they're on the constant lookout for really terrible things like tigers,
of course. The ones roaming around in our backyards.
Well, right. That part of our brain is like, wait, are you sure there aren't lions? Because I kind of think there are lions. Definitely, maybe there are for sure lions. And you're like, no, there aren't lions. But there are texts from my boss. Right. And there's a program launch that may not go well. And there's the existence of my mom. And there's diet culture. And there's war. And there's that may be really, really far away, but is effing with me here and now. Right. And so let's back up because I'm starting to talk about the things that activate the nervous system, but we haven't talked about what this nervous system is. So this nervous system that's constantly scanning inside and outside is looking to understand safety and danger from this very evolutionarily old place, right, of lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. And every function in the human body, pretty much, from cognition, like how well you can think or not, to whether you're pooping or not, pretty much every function has some sort of interaction with the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, the longest nerve in the human body. It runs from the brain, from the cerebellum, to your butt. It runs through the whole of the animal, down the middle of us, through our spinal cord, and it innervates or gives nerve function to everything. Heart rate, thyroid function, breathing, whether you can take big diaphragmatic breaths, or if you're stuck breathing up at the top of your chest in anxiety, whether you're digesting or not, whether you have the kind of reproductive function one might like, right? Like easy periods every 28 to 30 days, nice bright red flow, not a lot of cramps, if your poops are nice or not, right? Etc. This is all controlled by the vagus nerve. All of these systems run optimally when we are not seeing danger. The millisecond we see danger, we go into a reactivity. And in that reactivity, all of these things that happen in the middle of the animal, and give yourself a quick little scan, most of the things happen in the middle of the animal, right? They all get shifted, usually down regulated, right? Meaning they get less attention. So back it up. You're safe and social. You're chill. You're hanging out. You're with your friends, right? You're having this really nice conversation. You're sitting on a patio somewhere. Maybe there's a little bonfire. Everything's lovely. You had a nice little meal. You're feeling great. Your autonomic or automatic nervous system is in the state known as ventral vagal. Ventral refers to the front of the body. And the front of your body is having a lovely time. You can see your friends. You can smell the yummy tea. Like you're septing, knowing really delightful things. So ventral vagal, ventral front body, vagal refers to the vagus nerve, right? You're chill. All's good. Your thyroid is humming. Heart and lungs, doing great. Blood pressure, a delight. What about that thymus? You are making some T cells. Look at you, champion, right? Pancreas kicking it, right? Glucagon, what a champion. Digestion, humming. That burger you ate, anabolism, catabolism, metabolism. You got all the bullisms. You're doing all the beautiful things to turn that burger into cellular food. Great. And then holy potato pancakes, out of nowhere, you hear a roar. Ah! Right? It sounds like a lion. what happens? Your body, in a millisecond, often before you've even registered cognitively that there is scary here, your nervous system switches state into sympathetic activation, aka fight or flight. This is a state run by adrenaline, norepinephrine. If you stay in this state long enough, a stress hormone, a glucocorticosteroid known as cortisol, will be released. Remember the gluco part in glucocorticosteroid? This is sugar. It's just not good for you, right? It kind of rots you from the inside out, like drinking 40 Cokes a day. That is not math. That's just hyperbole, but stay with me. The rest of this is, I will let you know when it's science and when it's hyperbole. I promise. So far, it's been science. Yeah. So, lions, cortisol, adrenaline, fight or flight. Everything along the middle goes into racing mode, goes into foot on the gas, into, oh my God, what's going on? Do I have to get out of here? I have to get out of here. Let's get out of here. As humans, we know we are small, right? And don't come at me being like, I'm 6'4". Compare yourself to a rhino, baby. You're very small. You're very small. Yeah. Right? So it's the human imperative to try to connect first with the scary thing. If we can't connect, if we can't stay safe and social, we try to flight. We try to get the heck out of there. If for whatever reason we cannot get away from the lion, or the parent texting, or the boss asking you to stay late, or the partner who wants to have a talk, right? Whatever it is that's activating your nervous system, then we will fight, right? We will get defensive. We will argue. We will punch lions in the nose, right? When our body is activated against a threat, let me actually ask you this. If you were on a patio with your friends fighting a lion, would you want your digestion to take blood away from your hands with which you punch, your feet with which you flight, your heart and lungs that fuel the whole thing? Would you want your body to divert energy from those functions to digest a cheeseburger appropriately?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that would be a no.
Yeah,
excellent.
Hard no.
I'm so glad that you're using your veto power, which is good. So that's good. Yeah, that's what studies call a terrible idea. Don't do that. Fight and flight when you need to fight and flight. Now, if the fighting and the flighting doesn't work, the lion wins because studies show lions. We've cited a lot of important studies here, let me say. Studies show that lions are very big and strong, and they tend to win. So the lion wins, and she bites you because let's note that it is, of course, the lionesses that hunt. She gets you by the ankle. What does your nervous system do now? Well, it collapses, right? Deer in the headlights, possum playing possum, smart woman playing dead when the lion comes, right? Like, you're a smart little gazelle, right? You collapse to the ground. Your heart rate goes to next to nothing. Breathing, next to nothing. You know, like when someone's like in shock and you're like, yo, breathe. You're not breathing. Yeah. Right. That's by design. Your body is flooded with endogenous cannabinoids, meaning endorphins and cannabinoids, pain relief, right? Because you're about to get lunched, right? And you go into a state known as dorsal vagus. Dorsal means back body. Yeah. And I remember this because either your back's on the ground, lion's coming for you, or your back is against the door of the cave and you're trying to keep the world away. They'll keep the world at bay because you've gone from anxious, worried, stressed, panicked, sympathetic, in a heartbeat, in a millisecond. That system of overwhelm got overwhelmed. And you collapsed into dorsal, into checked out, into I'm not even here. And so physically, we cannot yet fully defy the laws of physics, but physically you're there, but mentally, psychologically, nervous systemally, you're not even in the room. You're not on the planet. You're like nowhere to be found, right? And this is on a spectrum, of course, right? It's not from 0 to like completely catatonic and dissociated. But in dorsal, we are depressed. We are checked out. We are disconnected. We cannot ideate. We cannot think of solutions. We cannot plan. Where the lights are on, but nobody's home. Yeah. And so that's what happens when stressors overwhelm our nervous system to the point of collapse. Yeah, we go into this dorsal state. And this will often happen when folks have been in a fight or a conflict for a long time.
Yeah.
You know how folks will go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Eventually somebody will generally be like, you know what, fine. That's fine. You know what, you're right. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Right? That's called fawning, but it's a kind of dorsal state of appeasement of please just stop. This has to stop. And so dorsal is meant to stop the pain by checking you out. In dorsal, everything is slowed, right? So in sympathetic, everything was raced up, foot on the gas, go, 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 get out. Dorsal, you've got no reserve, right? It's in a way, it's like diabetes, right? Like you've used up all your insulin and your body's like, you know what? That's enough.
Yeah.
You've had enough insulin. No more insulin for you, you know? So type 2, diabetes for my nerds, but, you can't get it going anymore. So in this state, you think your digestion's going to break down a cheeseburger? Right? Do you think you have the vital life force energy to do that? You can't get off the couch. You can't function. Or you may be able to function, but you're so checked out from self that every ounce of get up and go you have is getting you to work, is getting the kids dressed, is attending to the activities of daily life, to survival. Right? And honestly, if you think about a mammal, in our most stripped down rabbit in the woods kind of self, getting every nutrient from your food and having a healthy poop it's not imperative to survival, right? When you're thinking about survival on a rabbit level, which means don't be hawk bait, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, we live a lot longer than rabbits. And so if they have one constipated day, I mean, not that, I don't mean to speak for all rabbits, right? But, okay, fine. You had the one constipated day, eat some more alfalfa, move on.
Yeah.
But over a lifespan of 90 years, when you spend the equivalent of one rabbit day, that's 30 years. Again, fuzzy math.
Yeah.
But I think we all get my point that when our nervous system does not feel safe and social in our world, in our environment, in our relationships, of course you don't poop so good.
Yeah.
Pooping goodly is not imperative.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
And then we pull back and we say, from a functional medicine perspective, which is where I come from, oh my God, nothing is more imperative than poop. Right. But nothing trumps don't be hawk bait.
Yeah. Right.
So, right. So.
Okay, this had me thinking. So when we are in dorsal vagal,
yes,
we have to instill also a lot of coping mechanisms, obviously forms of survival to get there.
Sure.
And I don't mean to like completely flip this, but I'm pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Like I told you, I was probably going to try.
Stay on theme. Only rabbits. Only rabbits.
Only rabbits.
Keep going. Great.
Is this why people start to get codependent too? Like, is codependency a form of trying to regulate that dorsal vagal?
I love you. Thank you. This is I spend my life trying to explain this to people, and you just boom, went right there. So thank you so much, my darling. In part, for sure. Yes. Okay. So let's just back up in case people are like, what the hell is regulation? It's regulating any other animal. If you're driving a train, you want it to go faster, you use the regulator.
Right.
Give it more gas, pull back on the brake. Same with our nervous system. We can regulate our nervous systems, meaning shift the state that we're in.
Right.
And then the larger goal of somatics or body-based practices, soma meaning body. In Greek, the work I do, somatic practice to help us reconnect with the wholeness of our body, is about finding the space, regaining the skills and the capacity in our nervous system to stay in dysregulation so we can learn from it.
Yeah, no one wants to do that, but you're just telling us how we have to.
You gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
Well, we work really hard not to, but
stay a hot mess,
right?
Right. If you want to live a life with intentionality and choicefulness and as much agency as you can within your social location and the systems of oppression to which you are subject. Somatic practice is vital. It is truly vital. I don't know another way to fully connect with our wholeness. Yeah, than by reclaiming our connection with our physiology, with our human bodies, with our vehicle, with our presence on this planet.
Right. And isn't your body fighting for that too? Like, I feel like sometimes we look at our body and we're like, oh, we're in dorsal vagal. Like it's such a drag, like it's like our body is like causing this mass problem in our life. And we kind of get this idea that we need to blame it. And, it's the villain in the story when really it's fighting for that regulation. It just needs your support.
Right. And so here's where I like to pause, because a huge part of my work is really about debunking the disease model of codependency and the story that we are sick and suffering if we have codependency. And I'll even back up to say we have codependency, or that the label "you are a codependent" drives me absolutely bananas. It is a set of survival skills. Brilliant, amazing, genius survival skills from our inner children's, right? Who learned how to function in households where there was dysregulation, societies and cultures with dysregulation. Let us pause to say, someone said this to me the other day, a teacher friend, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's horrifying. There is not a single day of the year in the United States of America that is not the memorial of a school shooting.
Yeah.
Let's just or a mass shooting. Let's take a little breath on that. There's not a single of our 365 days, 366 on a leap year, that is not the memorial of a mass shooting in the United States of America in 2023. And people are like, I wonder why we're codependent and dysregulated. Right? Where is the secure attachment at a societal level?
Right. I feel like laughing right now because it is. It's like we've taken something that is a form of survival and we've demented it and twisted it into this thing that we have to try to get rid of instead of respect it.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
Also followed by hallelujah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Totally. Yeah. Our dysregulation is the great, great gift in that it's the arrow pointing us at what hasn't worked in the past, what isn't working in the present, so we can create a new tomorrow, right? One in which we honor regulation and dysregulation equally. With that said, does getting dysregulated at LAX suck? Yes.
Right.
It sucks. Does getting dysregulated when your partner is a half hour late getting home, is that garbage? That is garbage. Mm-hmm. It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And what you get to do is to sit with the discomfort and say okay, my partner's 30 minutes late getting home. What's going on in my nervous system? Mm-hmm. What are the stories that my brain, this meaning-making machine, that's its job, don't get mad at it. I mean, get mad at it if you want to. Agency, feminism, you do you, but I don't find it that fruitful. Mm-hmm. What are the stories that my ever-loving mind that loves me so much, what's it saying? It's saying they're never coming home and they don't love me. They've rethought this whole relationship. Mm-hmm. They're abandoning me. And I'm stuck with these dogs and these kids and this mortgage and this house and this, old Volvo in the driveway. I'm effed.
There's been 30 glimpse inside my mind.
Well, your producer actually sent me your journal.
Yeah, I know.
That's my favorite thing. So I run this 6-month coaching program called Anchored, where we do this work. It's freaking amazing. And I always love it on the first call with people where I'm like, and then you thought this, right? And they're like, how did you know that? And I'm like, please. I do this work because I am this work.
Yeah.
We are in the same banana boat together, my angel. But so it's getting triggered sucks, right? Triggered meaning activated out of ventral vagal into sympathetic, which for some of us goes very quickly into dorsal. For some of us, we stay in sympathetic for a very long time. That's just our individual pattern and just, that it's part of the great mystery of humanity.
Mhm.
In part, right? Sometimes it's our history and sometimes it's just our constitution.
Yeah.
Getting triggered sucks. And it pisses me off to no end when influencers, many of whom have very little training in this, are like, your triggers are your teachers, just be grateful for them. And I'm like, no, babe, you've never self-harmed from a trigger. You've never been stuck in bed for a week from a trigger. You've never breathe, back it up just a little. With the right support, tools, resources, care, psychoeducation, community support, with those factors, yeah, we can learn so much from our triggers. We can learn so much. There's no greater teacher. And there's nothing that will F you up more.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we just really need to just be thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And not ascribe a privileged social location to a nervous system experience in a different body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like having the idea, like what I love about this is it's allowing yourself permission to sit in it, because I think so much of our society is like fear it, run from it, try to create this perfect life where you don't have to engage with it, which doesn't exist. Because like you said, we're part of the human species. Pain is all around us and it's forever. But it does. Like, I think that there's not enough talk about, let's sit with it, not to excuse it or justify it or be complacent with it, right? But there's got to be a contentment that is a form of using it to move forward out of it.
Agreed 1,000%. You know, it's one of the things that I get the most pushback around.
Really?
Because we're all go. So my training's in somatic experiencing, and so which is Peter Levine's work. And a big part of it is exactly what you're saying. I mean, when we can just sit with the pain, sit with the discomfort, and take care of our nervous systems, right? So orienting. So right, I'll say the word orienting, and then if you'd like, I can teach your listeners what that means.
Yeah.
And give them some resources, because it's really cute to talk about all of this in theory, but like,
what do I do?
Sometimes you want to murder your children and the dog and the partner who's 30 minutes late because they hate me. Right? And we need to know what to do. But so when we have the skills to orient our nervous system, we can claim the capacity in our nervous system to do exactly what you said, was just to sit with what sucks. And what I feel is the most vibrantly important part of it is not gaslighting ourselves, right? Is not going to that like, okay, this triggers a teacher, sit with it. This triggers a teacher, sit with it. No. Once again, this trigger sucks and is garbage. And I'm so sorry that whatever happened in your past happened. That sucks. You did not need your trauma to learn, to grow, to like evolve as a spirit. No. No. And post-traumatic growth is real. So there's a difference there, right? You hear the difference in the, and this is, as an ESL kid, like I hear every preposition so powerfully, you know, but like the difference is it happened and I get choicefulness, right? And that's post-traumatic growth. And that happens when we can orient. Yes, I'm reminding my ADHD brain that I'm going to teach a thing. When we can orient our nervous systems and create resource space for ourselves to stay with it and to invite the growth in versus forcing it, which is, I think, the point that you're making, is that we push it away. We either buffer against it, force it away, try to not feel it. Or we try to feel it so hard.
Yeah.
Both of which are going to give you a tummy ache, by the way.
Yeah.
Because both of those options, the buffering, it's dorsal. Buffering is dorsal, right? And the like, okay, I'm going to journal about this for hours. I'm going to go to ayahuasca. I'm going to go to meditate. I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go. It's so friggin' sympathetic. Just sit down.
Yeah.
Right? Just sit with it. Easier said than done.
Right now. Yeah.
Like we both study the nervous system. It is when you are undercoupled to an experience, meaning you don't have full access to the emotions around an experience, it's way easier said than done. But running from it or running towards it,
Mm-hmm.
Be with it.
Mm-hmm.
And be with it in small segments. So at the beginning of COVID, I was living in Brooklyn and in like Gowanus near South Brooklyn, which is one of the places where the death rate was enormous. Shockingly, it was mostly Latinos. So I spent a lot of time sobbing, for my nurse, my medical colleagues, for my neighbor, like just sobbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that was super helpful and was getting in the way of me being of service, right? To just allow it to consume me for days and weeks, right? And so I started setting up like scheduled times to sob.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it that I can hear people being like, ew, that's so like contrived or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, of course it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was explicitly contrived. Thank you very much for noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I needed a safe container as someone with a history of depression within which to go into the depths and the darkness and to create a little empanada for my pain where the two little doughs were nervous system orienting. We're resourcing my nervous system. And I think it is invaluable that we learn how to do that, how to create sanctuary for ourselves and our own feelings. We can house them all and let them move through in their own way.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a great metaphor for poops.
But
I mean, just to keep your theme in mind, my angel. Right? The full scope. Right. Mind, body, and poops. Right?
Yeah. Space for movement.
That's right. Space for movement. All puns.
Yeah.
Always intended. Yeah.
So how do we move through this process?
Yeah. So orienting when I teach this to most people, they're like, girl, please. You went to school for how many years to teach me this simplistic BS? And I'm like, you know what? I get it. It sounds too simple to be useful. I get it. So when we are in ventral vagal, the safe and social part of the nervous system, we know when we are. We know where we are. We know who we are. We know why we are. We know. And when we get activated into lions are coming or into lion is here, sympathetic activation, fight or flight, adrenaline, dorsal shutdown, freeze. We don't know who and where, why, what we are. Because of prefrontal cortex, the executive function, smarty pants part of the brain that can drive cars and send emails and make a cup of coffee, that part's shut down. Yeah, you're all limbic. You're all hindbrain. You're all amygdala, which is the fear center. You're all the hot mess of the subcortical space, just in reptile, right? You're a scared little lizard who thinks it's hawk bait, right? So you don't remember when you are. You don't remember where you are. All of a sudden, part of you is like, I am reptile, right? I am hawk bait. And part of you is like, I am 6. And that's my dad yelling. Right? I am 12, and that's when so-and-so died. Also on a rainy day. Also, that's when we time travel into the past or the future. We get dysregulated. Time travel and dysregulation, unintentional time travel. The simplest, most important thing that we can do in those moments is to remind ourselves of the W's, of the who, what, where, when, whys we are. Because you legit don't know. And next time you're freaking out, ask yourself when you are. You won't know.
Yeah.
You're in the past, you're in the future, you're not here, you're not present. And so the simple tool, so we're using the optical nerve, right? We're the second cranial nerve. We're using the science it's so complicated and so simple at the same time.
Yeah, I know.
We're using the optical nerve and its direct line into the prefrontal cortex to remind us of when we are. So you can turn and look all the way over your left shoulder. And I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do, and then we're going to do it slowly. And you're going to look around the space you're in while slowly turning your head through the midline and all the way till you're looking over your right shoulder. We're working the optic nerve. We're also flossing the phrenic nerve. Say that 27 times fast.
Oh, man.
Yeah, right. Which also lets your nervous system know it is safe to come towards ventral vagal. Listen to mama's careful language.
Mhm.
It is safe to come towards ventral vagal. We're not BSing our nervous system. We're not saying, oh my God, everything's fine. No, we're saying in this moment, I'm with it enough to orient, which means I'm not actively being chomped, which means it's safe to come towards.
Mm-hmm. I love that it's a choice. Like you're giving it a choice.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that so nice?
Mm-hmm. You're not
I
just
love
trying to
choice
be
so
like, which so many people do. It's fine. Everything's
It's fine. Oh, you're fine. I'm fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine.
Don't tell me I'm fine.
Right. Oh, a few things are as frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, calm down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's no way for me to like faster.
I mean,
than
again,
being told to calm down.
Yeah. Right.
It's so negating.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, okay, so what's that doing? Right. It's time traveling me back to being a little kid whose feelings were negated.
Yeah.
Whose feelings felt like a burden.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Who felt like too much.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
so even
it's got to be so many, the majority of adults now are living out of that because again, it's just one generation to the next generation. This is learned behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
I love
for
that
humans socialized as women.
Yeah, I love that it's a choice to be like, okay, I'm offering my body the space to decide that this is safe, like this is okay. That's huge.
Pretty rad.
Mm-hmm. And so simple. Because it's not so you trying to do for your body. It's allowing your body to do what it knows how to do.
Yep.
It's just creating that environment.
Yeah. And give them permission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And space.
So it's go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
So it's like a movement from left to right.
So take your left eyes and your left, like, no, not your left eyes. Take your eyes to the left. What are you, like a flounder?
Yeah.
Take your eyes all the way to the left. Made me laugh a lot. Take your eyes all the way to the left over your left shoulder. Obvi, if you're listening and you're like, I have a neck injury or neck surgery, baby, don't do this.
Yeah.
Modify for you, please. So I take my eyeballs and I look all the way over my left shoulder and move my head, right? Point my snout in line with my left shoulder. And then there's a majillion ways to do this, like anything. The most basic orienting is just looking around the space you're in. So noticing the things as you slowly move your head to the right, to the right, to the right, till you're at the midline, and then all the way around till your snout is over your right shoulder. Slowly, 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 slowly. So what you can do, if that feels too open-ended, and when I'm teaching this to kiddos or folks who are in a big trauma response, I'll give a lot more instruction. Mm-hmm. So look around and literally name out loud the things you can see. Mm. Like calendar, window, photograph, thermos, lipstick, pen, comb, but like really name the things. Mm-hmm. You can also like name the square things, name the blue things. You can orient with the senses. What are 3 things you can touch, you can see, you can smell, you can taste? It's what you choose here could not be more irrelevant.
Yeah.
It don't matter for nothing. Mm-hmm. What matters is the pause. Because animals being chased by lions don't pause. Unless you got snacked, right? But then your body would, your pain receptors, your nociceptors would let you know that there was pain before you stop. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're pausing tells your nervous system it may be safe to begin to step towards ventral vagal. Yeah. So just if legit all you did was pause and like look to the left, you're going to do something good here.
Yeah.
And then staying with it and letting your nervous system know, yeah, and we've got tons of time here.
Yeah.
Check me out. Say, okay, what's square? The calendar, or like square rectangles, the window, books, notepad, computer, keyboard, desk. I must not be under attack. And so all these nervous system supportive tools, notice that the woman who studied this for 20 years didn't say hacks, didn't say tricks.
Thank you.
Right? But just ways to show the nervous system some support, care, grounding are really about presence. It's all about coming back to presence.
I am astonished that I literally just did this exercise and for that brief moment, I thought, you never look around. Like you never, like you're like one channel, and like just again, those reminders to yourself of like, space is good, space is healthy.
Yeah.
I can look around and like,
right.
wow, oh, I didn't notice my kids hung something on the board sitting next to me for who knows how long.
Who knows? Who knows? Right.
Like there's a beauty to it. Mm-hmm.
There's a beauty in the simplicity of it and the gentle kindness. Because it is a gentle kindness to the nervous system to allow it to settle into being here and now. Yeah. So then my next favorite question is, where are my feet? Oh, it's such a good one. This is a question I have been asking individuals and groups of people for like 20 years. And it never fails to shift the energetic. Where are my feet? So again, what this does is it's a very simple pause. It's a reminder that we are more than our thoughts. So when we're ruminating, we're stuck in the subcortical brain. We're stuck in the limbic system. We don't have access to prefrontal. And so simple questions that bring us into the here and now can help bring us back to prefrontal. Yeah. So it can bring us into our prefrontal brain and also bring us into the medial frontal cortex, which is the watcher, the awareness part of the brain. So when we can observe ourselves with gentleness, with love, with kindness, it actually increases, it strengthens via neuroplasticity, the neural circuit that says, I am kind to myself. I am present. I am loving with me. That's pretty rad. It also cost $0 and took 4 seconds. Where are my feet? 4 seconds. Not even that long, especially not for New Yorker. Where are my feet? It also is reminding us to ground. When you find your feet, generally speaking, find the ground. Yeah, I want to honor bodies with different abilities, whose feet might be in a wheelchair, etc. But you can probably use your visual cortex to imagine those feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And for those who might feel so inclined, it's a reminder to connect in with the earth, with nature, with Pachamama, Gaia, whatever language works for you. It's a beautiful reminder. It also, you asked me about 16 hours ago when we started this conversation about codependency. Yeah, we sort of flittered in and out. The opposite of codependency is not hyper independence, right? That's that American, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of BS. There is no independence.
Yeah, right.
That's a fallacy. Like there is no self-regulation. Also a fallacy. We are constantly co-regulating each other, and we are, by definition, interdependent. I'm sitting in a room full of plants without whom I would not have oxygen, right? Yeah. And my completion of the nitrogen cycle when I pee and poo is part of the continued health of the soil, right? We are wildly interdependent. And so asking myself, where are my feet, reminds me of the ground. Also reminds me that I didn't build this house in which I stand. It was built in 1951. Yeah, I am interdependent with the beings before me. And these floors are made of tree. Right. And so we can spin out as far in a non-duality pathway as we'd like. And it helps us come back to the here and now so we don't yell at the checker at Target, because it's really honestly not her fault. Like it's just also not her fault. And even if it is, really, really, that's what baby, breathe. Choicefulness. And that's what somatics grants us, is the capacity to step into interdependence, the remedy to codependency, to step into agency, and to step out of the old habitual ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that we were taught in our family of origin and by systems like the patriarchy, white settler colonialism, late stage capitalism, or neo-feudalism. And it is through somatic practice and being present in our bodies that we can forge new futures outside of those systems.
There is immense power when we understand that hyper independence is actually a form of heightened ego, which is a form of survival. And when we can see, and I love that you said co-regulation of, we have the opportunity to help regulate everyone around us while they're also helping. It's a gift. It's not a competition. And the more we can regulate others, the more we will regulate ourselves and the whole of our environment. And we miss this because we live for this independence. And that doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. It just creates competition, but we're always together.
Yeah.
And I love that sense of like, again, permission to be like, my codependence was a form of survival. That was me doing the best that I could with what I had the opportunity to. And it still is when I fall back into those patterns. But understanding, like, what if we could work with the people in our life to understand this co-regulation? Then I'm not as triggered to be like, my husband not only was 30 minutes late, but he came home in a crappy mood. And now I am going to go at him, instead of being like, right, okay, how can I offer you the gift of helping you regulate? How, instead of my kids throwing a fit and me getting triggered by that and being like, well, I'm going to throw my best fit back at you, being like, okay, I understand you need help regulating. That's huge.
Huge.
Thank you for talking about this.
Oh, my pleasure. Likewise.
I feel like I've been in the health space a lot, and you hear these black and white statements, but none of it fits.
None of it fits.
None of it fits. It doesn't feel right. You go down these paths of like, gosh, I'm just so codependent. And and that's like my story of like codependency, but I can't, the hyper independence doesn't fit either. It feels just as nasty, if not more nasty than codependence.
I mean, it's just another way to not be in connection, right?
Yeah.
When the social engagement system, which is the core of ventral vagal, is the strongest part of the human psyche, right? We need one another. We are pack animals.
Mm-hmm.
We desperately need one another. We need connection, right?
So
and so denying it by being like, that's so codependent.
Yeah.
Like, of course we need our partners.
Mm-hmm.
Of course we need connection with other human mammals.
Mm-hmm.
That's in our biology. It's the gift of our genetics.
Yeah. And like you said, having some of those just practical tips of just bringing ourselves back into that present.
Yep.
That's a game changer for your nervous system.
Huge.
That's the space that it needs.
Yeah.
To see. What is it about linking or grabbing arms with the past and even the future that is like, why are we so prone to get ourselves into that? I mean, obviously the past is kind of the survival of like, we don't want to repeat the trauma that we've been through. So we're going to constantly like be triggered by it,
right,
as a way to prevent it. But like, is there like I don't want to say, because I don't really love this whole idea of trigger warnings either, of like, we can escape trigger warnings, like, right?
Ooh, okay.
Like, we got to build some resiliency here.
I shall go to there if you'd like.
Yeah.
Well, so hold on. We got two things pending and they're so important.
My mind is like mind blown. Right?
I love it. Okay. So the first one is reenactment. So reenactment in the nervous system is kind of what it sounds like, right? We watched the movie the first time and we didn't like our role. Right. We thought we were going to be the protagonist, but instead, whatever. Right. We were the wicked stepsister and we were like not super into it. And so we want to do the play over. Right. We want to start from go and we want another chance to make it more better on our terms. And so we marry someone like our dad or our mom or our whomever, because without realizing it. Right. Because the nervous system wants to play it out again to create a different ending. But alas, that's generally not how it works if you don't do the healing work in the middle.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that's hard. I mean, it's not always easy to hear that. Like, these are the choices our nervous system will make. Again, for our benefit.
Sure.
But it doesn't always feel like that, like.
Hells no. No. Oh my God. No.
I'm going to marry my father.
Often. I mean, but we all do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all do it until we learn that we all do it and until we do the healing work to like get to a different place and a different level of healing and a different relationship to self and the world. right? Like I was in a terrible marriage where I got myself out of, thank goodness, but like they had the worst characteristics. Like they had my dad's rage and my mom's like they had all the worst characteristics of both of my parents, right? Things that my nervous system needed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it was this from the other side, I can say for me and not for anyone else on this planet ever, I can see the gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Do I again, right? You know why I'm being so careful about
Yeah.
this, because it's like becomes this victim blamey, like, oh, your soul came here to like live through that trauma and heal. No, just no, absolutely not. And for me, I recognize that I needed to go through what I went through and be in that abusive relationship in order to learn my value, my worth, my importance, my dignity, to get back into somatic connection, to step out of functional freeze and back towards the capacity to regulate into ventral vagal and to honor and stay with my dysregulation. Because I can do all of that now. And I worked really hard for it. I fought my butt off. I went to all the therapy. I did all the somatic, like I did all the things. I healed my gut.
Yeah.
You know, like I did the things. But what led me into that relationship was reenactment and codependent thinking, codependent survival skills. Right. And I'm grateful to be on the other side. Why do we future forecast? Same reason. We control. It's all an attempt to control. Right. Because we recognize, I mean, remember I said we're very small mammals. We know we're very small mammals. Right. And we know that without loving community, we are in grave danger. At all times. I mean, look at the studies on NIH or CDC just published a meta-analysis around loneliness.
No.
Like loneliness will murder the hell out of you.
Yeah.
It is worse for you than smoking.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, smoking
about anything. So yeah.
Right. Well, worse than drinking, worse than smoking. And studies showed drinking and smoking were really fun in our 20s, but we stopped. So you really like lonely sucks, but it makes obvious science. You know what I mean?
When it comes to this understanding of our nervous system, right? Like it's affecting the whole of who we are. And I think we get so scared to become dysregulated that we can't even really capture those practices of regulation because, again, you kind of mentioned control, right? Like we're trying to control everything as a form of its own form of survival, which is kind of keeps us stuck in survival. Like, I mean, you gave us some great practices for these somatic, just creating that presence and that grounding. Like, what are some of your wisdom that you want to just like impart in us as these last few minutes of this podcast of, you know, these are some things to think outside the box to really create that space inside your body to really just start that. I think, you know, a lot of us are quick to jump on like, oh, I'm going to go to therapy, but therapy didn't work. You know how many emails I get that says, well, I tried therapy. You told me to try therapy and it didn't work. You know, like, what do we do with that? Like, what do we do?
I think we've lost sight of the goal.
Yeah.
I think we need to pause and remind ourselves, like, why do I want to be more regulated? Why do I want to step out of codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing survival skills and towards interdependence? Why do I want to fight with my partner? Like, what is the goal? And for me, the goal, there is only one, which is love, which is to live a life where love is the beginning, middle, and end. So that means choicefulness, that means agency, that means consent, that means interdependence, that means authenticity, that means autonomy, mutuality, reciprocity. Right? When I am living my life to be an ever more present vessel of love for others, that means that I stand up against injustice. Right? It means I volunteer and I sort cans at the soup kitchen. I spent like 3 hours last night checking soup for expiration dates. Right? Like, and I coach and I practice medicine and I do what I do always with the ever present. How can I be more? How can I be love in this moment? right? And so when in this hypothetical we've been banting about, the partner comes home 30 minutes late, how can I show my inner children who might be freaked out from insecure attachment in childhood? How can I show them more love? So I can ground me and regulate me, and I can show up and say, hey, babe, are you okay?
Yeah.
What's up? What happened? And here are my feels. Here are my thoughts. Here's my experience. Here's what's up for me. And here's my request from you. Here's how you can meet me. My goal is love. How can we create more between us? Right? And simultaneously, how can we honor love and step away from things that aren't working? Career paths, partnerships, friendships, apartments, cities. Right? Because recognizing where love isn't and isn't where it is unlikely to flourish is part and parcel. So just letting love be our guide, that'll get you poop aligned. Right? That'll get your thyroid humming. You know what to eat for lunch.
Yeah.
You know, because your intuition knows, your discernment knows, you know what the best nutrition plan is for you. Right? You know what's right. And yes, consult a professional, right? Like,
right.
And trust yourself.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if you have stage 3 chronic kidney disease, you probably get a grown up to tell you how much phosphorus to have in a day. Right.
Yeah.
And trust yourself and your body from a place of love.
Yeah. I mean, it changes your whole biology. And that's why these conversations are so important. As a nutritionist, it's like, at the end of the day, it's so many people know what to do. It's why are we not doing it? And why are we constantly falling back into our old patterns? And a lot of that is confronting these nervous system situation that's going on. And like you said, being willing to learn these regulation, creating space for regulation for your body to show up in the best way that it can. Instead of just disassociating, trying to grasp onto anything we think can save us or fix us.
Yeah.
I guess my last question that I had throughout this, I mean, we kind of started with the gut health. We have so much going on in this podcast, which I love. But I think when we talk about co-regulation, I think this is going to be a big, or I hope it is, a big aha for people of I'm not just escaping codependency. I want to learn this interdependence co-regulation. I think a lot of our life has been shown up. How can I fix myself? How can I fix other people? I'm going to fix other people because, I'm going to end the story better. What is that line between learning how to co-regulate and fixing?
Co-regulating is holding space. It's being with. Fixing is leaving self and entering someone else's energetic space with an agenda, with a goal. I know what's best for you, and I'm going to change your life. Right? I'm going to fix this. I'm going to improve it. It's broken. Right? It comes from that binary, you're broken, this is broken. Right? Come here, let me fix it. And it's imposing. It's not a consent-based process. Whereas co-regulating is saying, I have the resource in my nervous system right now. I see that you are in sympathetic or dorsal. We're bouncing between the two. I'm feeling really ventral vagal. I'm feeling pretty chill. I feel present. I feel calm. I feel cool. I feel connected. I feel social. I'm ideating like a champ. If I needed to poop, I could.
Yeah.
My thyroid's humming. And so I will be a steady ground to support you. I will be your anchor, should you want it, so that you can go swimming off in the dark seas of whatever you're dealing with. And this is, the gentle parenting and the tantrum, right? This is the hey, babe, I see you're having some really big feels. I'm going to sit on the floor and you let me know what you need. If you want to come sit in my lap, if you want me to hold you, if you want to do some jumping jacks, whatever let's talk about it. And I pause myself saying whatever, because, we're not going to let kids do dangerous things or hit.
Yeah.
But I think we all get where I'm going, right? Of co-regulation is lending your nervous system to someone else. So that's it. I guess got it. The difference between lending your nervous system and imposing.
So
one comes
powerful.
From, right? So lending your nervous system comes from heart, and fixing comes from mind.
Fixing is like the near enemy. Like Brené Brown, I don't know if you've ever heard her speak about the near enemy. It's like the near enemy of love is attachment. Like they almost appear. Like you could say, like, I want to fix you because I love you, but that is not really the loving answer to helping someone. So if you are dysregulated, how do you ask someone to hold space for you?
Yeah. And so this
is that fair? Because you couldn't just go to anyone, right? Though, like if they're just, how do you determine? Can you just sit with anyone, even if they're dysregulated themselves? Like, this is a big ask.
This is a big, this is a big question.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a couple parts here. Hold on, let me sort of parse it out. So, one, is it fair to ask someone to regulate your nervous system or to co-regulate with you? It's fair to ask anyone to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And an interdependent autonomy-based worldview would say that they have the capacity, you get to trust that they have the capacity to say no.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, we can be thoughtful of who we know people to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we can understand their habitual capacity to have healthy boundaries and limits and to say things like no.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we don't do the work of saying no for them in advance, but we can honor what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They know that we are aware they might have trouble vocalizing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So not getting codependent with them, but just like knowing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That said, we don't deny or decline people the chance to show up for us. We offer them the opportunity, right? Because supporting others is a gift, right? And so how do you ask for it? I mean, I think direct communication for the win, right? So I will say to my partner, I'll say, Billy, I would really love a hug. I'm feeling a little dysregulated. I'm feeling down. I got a weird comment on my Instagram. I got a whatever, like, I saw like a scary bug and give me a hugsies, right? So like I'll say really clearly what I'm feeling, the why if I know it, and what I need.
Mm-hmm.
We give the people we love the capacity to say yes and no by asking for consent instead of imposing in their direction, right? And that's when it's really important to diversify who is in our, on our team to support us and regulate us, right? So if like your partner or someone physically in your space isn't available or doesn't have the capacity, we can honor their no and phone a friend, right? Text somebody, right? Look somewhere else, which then of course brings up bigger questions if your partner's, chronically unable or unwilling to co-regulate with you. Is that something is a relationship you want to be in? But that's a whole other, we can put that on the docket for our next conversation.
For our next
How's that sound?
Oh, I have so many things on the docket.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us where we can learn more about you quickly? And I will make sure and link all of this up in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a special treat just for your listeners to say thanks for listening. So if you go to my website, which is Victoria Albina, ALB as in boy, INA.com/ living well. You can download, is it so cute?
Yeah.
You can download a suite of meditations, an orienting exercise, a nervous system, inner child. There's tons of stuff for free. Just to say thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for sticking with us. This has been so much fun. So victoriaalbina.com/ living well. That's where you get those meditations. You can follow me on the gram. I give good gram at Victoria Albina Wellness. My podcast is called Feminist Wellness, and it's free in all of the places. I have two offerings. There's two ways to work with me. One is in my 6-month program, Anchored, victoriaalbina.com/ Anchored. And the other is the Somatic Studio, which is a 3-month program, which is psychoeducation, hands-on somatic practice. It's an amazing, wonderful program. The difference is Anchored comes with coaching. There's coaching twice a week with an Anchored. So that's the big difference there. And they're both amazing and incredible and will be available in the new year once more. And I can't wait to share them all with your listeners.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor.
It was such a delight. Thank you.
That is it for today's podcast. As always, you can find all of the show notes over at thelivingwell.com. Sign up for the weekly fill and check out the Nourish Planner. You are going to love it. Now, this was a really big topic, and I don't want to end here. We are actually going to talk about co-regulation and what that looks like and the scope of your life and your health as we get into a mini series on repatterning your entire life so that you can make your resolutions stick. Yes, we're going to talk about resolutions, not how to not set resolutions, but actually how to achieve them in this little mini series that I have before the new year begins. So make sure you follow along in the next few weeks as we release that series. And then one more special episode with my husband talking about the wellness tips that worked and didn't for us in this year, all before a new year begins. Okay, that is it. Make sure you head on over to the Living Well and learn more about Maria's work. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you back here in the next podcast.